I'm Ginny Smith from Braintastic Science, and at Braintastic we're all about discovering how understanding your brain can help you to make the most of it. So today I want to tell you a bit about your brain and how it understands the world around us using your senses. But first, I'm going to start with an illusion. Take a look at this spiral and keep your eyes focused right in the middle of the screen. It's okay to blink. Blinking's fine, but what I want you to do is keep your eyes as still as you can and keep them right in the middle of that spiral as I talk to you. So while you're staring at that spiral, your eyes are sending messages to your brain. They're traveling down neurons or nerve cells that's carrying the information from your eyes to your brain. And because that information is being sent over and over again, as you keep staring at that spiral and keep your eyes still, something really interesting is going to start to happen in a moment. So what I want you to do is just keep your eyes focused there for a few more seconds, then we're going to cut back to my face and hopefully you'll see something interesting happen. Okay, we're going to cut back in 3, 2, 1. Look at my face. Do you see something weird happening? Now hopefully some of you will have seen it look like my face was expanding or kind of exploding. I can promise you my face is fine. That didn't actually happen. It was a trick that your brain was playing on you. I'm going to show you loads more ways you can trick your brains and what that tells us about how our senses work. But first, I need to tell you a little bit about your brain. So I've got a model of a brain here, and this one is actually life-size. So this is roughly how big an adult human brain is. So you can see that it's not actually that big compared to the rest of my body, but it actually uses about 10% of the food that you eat every day. 10% of your food goes to powering your brain. And that's because your brain is always so busy, it's always working, taking in information from the world around you and trying to make sense of it. And it does that using special cells called neurons or nerve cells. And your neurons look a little bit like this. So this is a cuddly version of a neuron, and this is a bit what the cells in your brain look like. Obviously the ones inside your head are a bit smaller and they don't have the googly eyes, but otherwise they look roughly like this. You've got about 86 billion of these inside your head, and they can make about 100 trillion connections. So that means there's more connections inside each of your brains than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy, which I think is pretty incredible. But why does all this matter? Well, our nerve cells, our neurons and our brains are there to help us understand the world around us. And we understand the world around us using our senses. That's what sends messages to our brain, and then our brain kind of works out what's going on from those messages. The first sense I want to look at is vision. This is probably the most important sense for humans. We use our sense of vision all the time, but there are lots of different ways that it can be tricked. So I'm going to show you a couple of my favorite visual illusions today. What I've got here is a picture of a checkerboard with a kind of green cylinder on it. And I'd like you to have a look at square A and shout out what colour you think that is. Okay, now let's have a look at square B. What colour do you think that is? So hopefully most of you said that square A was black or dark grey and square B was white or light grey, because that's how it looks. But it turns out that this picture is playing a trick on your brain. So if I take this other piece of paper, which has a couple of holes cut out of it, and just pop that over the top so that only square A and B are visible, you should be able to see that they're actually exactly the same colour. And what I love about this illusion is as soon as I take that piece of paper away and show you the original thing again, they go back to looking different. It's pretty cool, isn't it? So the reason this works is because of the way your brain takes into account lighting. So you've seen lots of things over the course of your life, and you know that they don't change colour when you go into a different room where the lights are different. So if you had a banana in the kitchen, you'd know that it was yellow. If you took it outside into bright sunshine, you'd know that it was still yellow. What's changed is the lighting. So your brain is always subtracting the effect of lighting, trying to ignore it and show you the colour of the real banana underneath. And that's where it's come into a problem here, because this isn't real, it's a picture. So in this case, its calculations get it wrong. So if you look at square B, it's in the shadow. So what your brain does is it says, well, that square must be lighter than it looks, because when things are in the shadow, they look dark. So it's taking away some of that darkness. And square A looks like it's in bright sunshine. So your brain thinks it must be darker than it looks. So it takes away some of that lightness. So your brain's trying to show you what's really underneath, but in this case, it's getting caught out. The next sense we're going to look at is hearing. And hearing's another really important sense. You're using it right now to listen to me. But just like our other senses, hearing can be tricked. So I'm going to play you a little audio illusion now. In a second, you're going to hear a clip of my voice telling you to do something. But what I've done is I've messed around with the audio so it sounds really, really strange. All I need you to do is listen carefully, and if you can understand what I'm saying, just follow my instructions. Okay, we'll play it in 3, 2, 1.
Please wave your arms in the air.
So I'm assuming that no one is doing anything right now, because usually no one can understand what I was saying in that clip, because I've messed around with the audio so much. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play you the original version with that clip that I haven't messed around with. You don't have to do it this time, just listen. Okay, we'll play it in 3, 2, 1.
Please wave your arms in the air.
Okay, now you've heard that clip, I'm going to go back and play you the messed around with one again. And hopefully, this time, you'll be able to understand it. So if you can, follow the instructions. Okay, this is the same clip you heard the first time. We'll play it in 3, 2, 1.
Please wave your arms in the air.
Are you doing it? Hopefully there are lots of you waving your arms in the air. It's pretty amazing, isn't it, that clip that just sounded like random noise to start with, once you know what I'm saying, suddenly your brain can make sense of it. And this is something your brain is doing all the time. It's always using your expectations, using what you already know to help you make sense of the world. So if you're in a noisy restaurant, for example, you can tune in to the person across from you, and your brain is actually guessing what they're going to say, and that makes it easier for you to understand them. And that's what's happening here. Once your brain knows what it's trying to hear, what before just sounded like random noise, suddenly makes all sorts of sense, and you can understand what I'm saying completely. So the last sense that we're going to look at is one that you probably haven't heard of, and it's got a really long name. It's called proprioception. But all it means is that you know where your arms and legs are all the time. Now that sounds like a bit of a weird thing to say, but it's true. Even with your eyes closed or in the dark, you know that your arms and legs and body belong to you, and you know where they are in space. So think about what sense you're using to do that. You're not using your sense of touch if your arms aren't touching anything. So unless you have a weird ability to hear where your hands are, you must have another sense, and that is proprioception. So to prove that to you, we're going to do a little experiment. And all you need for this is a piece of paper, and I'd like you to draw a big X in the middle of it. Okay? And then just pop it on the desk in front of you. Now what I'd like you to do is hold your left hand up, and then hold your right hand up, and then put your right finger up. Okay, so what we're going to do, not just yet, in a second, is I'm going to ask you to keep your left hand still and then just touch the first finger of your right hand to it like that. And then you're going to touch the center of the cross that's on the desk in front of you. But it would be far too easy if I let you do that using all your senses. So what I'm going to do first is go back to the position. There we go. Okay, and now close your eyes. Okay, so first up, I would like you to touch your finger, please. Eyes closed. Great. Now go back to the original position. And keeping your eyes closed, now try and touch the cross. Okay, you can open your eyes. Hopefully you found it easier to find your finger than you did to find the cross. And that is because of your sense of proprioception. That was telling you roughly where this hand was. You might not have been perfect, but you probably got pretty close to the finger. Whereas you don't have a sense of where that piece of paper is. You're only going on your memory, and that's not as good as actually using a sense. So that's why your sense of proprioception is so important. It tells you where your body is, and it helps you move and dance and walk and jump and all of those things, because you need to know where your body is in order to do those. I really hope you enjoyed that whirlwind tour of your brain and senses. I'm Ginny Smith from Braintastic Science, and you can find us on social media. Just search Braintastic Sci, or head to our website, braintasticsci.com, and sign up for our mailing list. Sadly, I can't be there to answer your questions today, but we're going to be starting a regular Curiosity Corner slot on our platforms, where I answer your questions about the brain. So if you do have any questions, send them to me on social media or by email, and keep an eye out to see if yours has been chosen. And whatever you do, stay curious.